Welcome to the Enterprise Information Architecture Conversational AI demo. Here we will be using our agentic AI framework in order to chat with a graph. So we can ask different questions and we will become different answers. Each of them will be processed differently regarding of the nature of the question by the different agents included in the framework. So maybe now to start, let's begin with a very simple question, such as listing 5 business objects in a table together with their description. So meanwhile, now while we see that the graph is charging, we can see once the results are being rendered according to what we expected, that in this case to process this answer, different agents have been used, different services within the framework. The first one is a Sparkle translation tool, which its function will be about understanding the natural question that we asked and then translating it to a Sparkle query, which will then be later executed. As we see that the question was simple, the query we see that we get also fits the nature of the question. Here we see that in this case different prefixes are used, in this case one, which is inherently from the ontology that we have pointed at. So by every question that is asked, the ontology is prompt, so obviously the chat will know the domain that we're referring. Maybe a nice follow-up question would be now continuing with this explanatory approach and ask it now to use a chart to show which business objects are most used across multiple processes. So here we saw in the previous question that 5 different business objects were listed. Now we want to know a little bit deeper within all of my data sets, which of them come across in most of our business processes. So we can then render these results within a chart and see which of them, let's say, are most central to the different business process in the organization. Here we see that the customer business object is the winner, and it's in this case it comes across 21 different processes, followed by purchase order, which comes in 17, and so on. Here in this case we can also see that other agents were utilized. First of all, obviously a Sparkle translation tool agent must have been used in order to understand the question that we're asking, followed by the chart configuration tool, which will then interpret the answers and pack them within the chart component. In this case, it took a scatter layer. So far, so good. Now, continuing on this, maybe we can see now as customer was the most central business object within the different processes on the organization. Maybe we now want to know which IT systems of the category CRM are related to the customer business object. Just as another explanatory question with a little bit more specific details, we want the results to be listed in a table, and we want to see for those apps of category CRM related to customer, who are the business users, what are their roles, department, and contact. Now, obviously, this question is taking a little bit longer because in this case, the agent will need to identify which entities we are talking about. Now we are referring to CRM, we are referring to customer. All of these different entities will need to be linked, and then the result will be possibly generated. So here we see that there are 2 IT systems which are of category CRM that are linked right to the business object customer. In this case, we see that different tools were utilized. In this case, first of all, the link entities tool. So it had to be able to link entities. For example, it was able to understand that CRM is meaning actually customer relationship management, which is itself IT system category. It was also here able to identify customer as the business object that we were talking about. And then obviously it followed by continuing and constructing here the query that will then provide the necessary answers. Should this not be enough, obviously I am always capable of asking it in natural language, the agent to explain the query, right? So maybe we want it now to tell us in natural language what it has done. right? So now it will tell us, hopefully, how this result was calculated, how these different services came all together. So here we see that the query retrieves IT systems of category CRM that are related to this business object, as it was expected. And then it will also fetch details about users, right, roles, departments as selected. So here it explains pretty much in detail how the query was then calculated. Maybe now we want to ask another question, which now links this both IT systems that were retrieved in the question. In this case, those that matched the requirements of the question. So we see that there are two. Maybe we want now to ask it which business processes would be directly impacted if we were to shut down both systems, right? Those ones that we became in our previous answer. So we might want to know, should this both be shut down? Which of the processes in my enterprise would be directly impacted? And we would also want to know who would be the process accountable and in which department do they work at and which role do they each of them have. This again shows a little bit the nature of how these different entities such as business processes, IT systems, IT categories, employees, roles, they can all come together in one single question that will, by utilizing the model on behind, be able then to return the respective answers. So obviously, as this is a very complex question, it will take a couple of seconds to answer, as it needs to link different entities and it also needs to query different domains within the model. So here we can see the results, also here with a natural language declaration that the following business process would be directly impacted, right, if these two apps were shut down. And here we can see also the accountable employee for each of these processes, what role do they have and in which department do they work at, right? So this in general to gain some business insights about the data that we have and how this all links together, and also be capable of covering these what-if scenarios. Maybe now we just want to regroup this information in a little bit more visual-friendly way. Here we can maybe use a pie chart to see from this impacted process. So this can be then grouped by the departments that those accountable employees work for. Now we want to know all of these impacted processes. Which departments do these accountable employees work for the most? We want to have some clearer insights on this by utilizing one of our web components, in this case the pie chart. So this information will be then rendered accordingly. Right, and here to finalize with, we know that if we were to shut down these both IT systems, now several processes would be impacted. Those processes which are impacted, we can see here, they have different accountable employees, each of them having different roles, working at different departments. So if we were to group them by department, those accountable employees from the impacted processes, this is how the visualization would look like. And we could see that ID and sales would be the two departments having most of accountable employees. Right, so this demo was done with the purpose of showcasing a little bit the AI capabilities of Metis and how we can then answer business relevant questions with it. Thank you very much.